Friends, welcome to the module Prospective Vision for India's Higher Education. Through this module, we will try to understand the need for a new vision and the various aspects to be stressed on higher education of our country. India can be called as one of the youngest nations in the world, having more than 62% of its population in the age group of 15 to 59 years and more than 54% of its total population are below 25 years of age. It must be taken seriously that one of the immediate actions needed to enhance the quality of higher education is to redesign the higher education curriculum of all the courses in order to teach the students what is relevant in the present modern age. Restructuring the curriculum includes upgradation of pedagogy together with modernizing the training of teachers totally based on a vision. As per the All India Survey on Higher Education 2017-18, the gross enrollment ratio GER in higher education is 25.8% and the total enrollment in higher education in the year 2017-18 was 36.6 million with 17.4 million girls and 19.2 million boys. The GER target was 25.2% at the end of 12th five-year plan in 2017 and 30 by 2020. The data shows how much aspirants do consume the facility of higher education in India. Therefore, the question why Indian higher education is in need of a prospective vision is highly a remarkable point to be pondered over. The world-class research and innovation always depends on access to the best future academic and research talent. In the next decade, India will have the largest tertiary enrollment in the world and will be a key source of intellectual capital who always engage with the best researchers in the world. Higher education in India has synoptic profile. As a prelude, it will be interesting to have a synoptic profile on the Indian higher education system. India's higher education system is the third largest in the world after China and the United States. The main governing body at the tertiary level is the UGC so far, which enforces its standards, norms and timely intervention to the government to coordinate the educational matters between central and state government. The structure of the higher education institutions are universities and university level institutions, colleges and finally diploma and certificates awarding institutions. These institutions are mainly categorized on the basis of funding source as central and state governments and private agencies. India places more stress on science and technology in the tertiary level of education. Hence, Indian institution consists of a large number of technology institutes and now India slowly stepped into online mode of education in the higher level. When we analyze the quality and global acknowledgements of our institutions, IITs and IIMs could achieve global recognition to a certain extent, whereas several of our universities and institutes fail to produce neither world-class skilled workforce nor improvement in quality research and innovation. Despite the significant progress over the past few years, Indian higher education is confronted with mainly four broad challenges. The first challenge is the challenges related to the central pillars of education. The three central pillars of the government's plan for education reflect these realities: access, equity, and quality. India has a low rate of enrollment in higher education at only 18% when compared with China 26% and Brazil 36%. By 2020, India aims to achieve 30% gross enrollment, and hence the facilities and qualities of education must be increased. Second challenge: the poor quality of teaching and learning process. The education system is affected by the issues of quality in many of its institutions. There is an excessive shortage of faculty, poor quality teaching, outdated methods of transaction, rigid curricula and pedagogy, lack of accountability and quality assurance. Third challenge is limitations on research capacity and innovation. At present, the PhD enrollment is very low and we don't have enough high quality researchers across the country. There are a few opportunities for interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary research. We have a lack of early stage research experience and low levels of industry engagement, which in turn create a weak learning ecosystem for innovation. Fourth aspect: irregular growth and access to opportunity. In the social setup, India remains highly divided and allocated, and hence access to higher education is uneven with multidimensional inequalities in enrollment across population groups and geographies. Within next few years, every aspect of higher education must be reorganized and remodeled. The sources of funding, training in leadership and management, stage-wise measuring of quality assurance, frequent analysis of accountability, increase in the relationship with industry and international collaboration, and above all, the ways of teaching and research are conducted must be scrutinized and emphasized with much more seriousness. There must have a framework for strengthening existing institutions and to reform governance and funding of universities and other educational institutions. Hence, our education system is greatly in need of a vision which has got a futuristic and prospective outlook to play a significant role in the future expansion of higher education in the country. So, coming to the prospective vision for India's higher education. Even though global factors, a rapid internationalization of education and global competition for talents influenced the changes in our education, it is mainly economic growth, demographics and politics that transformed India's higher education. As a result, higher education in India suffers from several systemic deficiencies, and hence it continues to provide graduates that are unemployable despite emerging shortage of skilled manpower in an increasing number of sectors. The standards of academic research are low and declining. Some of the problems of the Indian higher education, such as unwindingly affiliating system, inflexible academic structure, uneven capacity across various subjects, eroding autonomy of academic institutions, and the low level of public funding are well known. Hence, our higher education system needs systemic reforms and high quality affordable education system. It is possible only when we have a strong framework which defines, the vision and mission of higher education. In this context, we must have a prospective and future vision for our higher education system. And for that, the present higher education should focus on 5 aspects to become a contributing nation to the global village. The first aspect is promotion of research and innovation. We know that India is a country with untamed and unexploited potential getting ready to be actualized. The fundamental driver behind any innovation process is the human factor associated with it. To utilize its maximum potential of physical and human resources, there stands the necessity to think afresh the new research and innovation. We need to give a suitable trajectory to promote research and by innovation by strengthening the higher education system in India. Having a close look into the ideal working research ecosystem based on the Indian realities will clearly illustrate the reasons for the dull enthusiasm of Indian youth for academic and research career, which Indian has resulted in low competence of Indian universities and research in international level. To clarify the ideal research ecosystem of India, we need to analyze the university system and economic perspectives of research and innovation in India. Yashpal Committee report of 2009 on renovation and rejuvenation of higher education clearly states that, quote, a university is a place where new ideas germinate, strike roots and grow tall and steady. It is a unique space which covers the entire universe of knowledge. It is a place where creative minds coverage interact with each other. And it continues, and quote, this report analyzes the intellectual and political freedom of the university, which ensures the freedom in research. The duty of the university is not only to transmit knowledge to learners, but also to give them opportunities to create their own knowledge. Therefore, any type of restrictions and constraints from the part of the policy makers and authorities will definitely destroy the flow of research ecosystem envisaged by the great researchers of the past. Universities and research institute, being the center of research ecosystem, should be properly linked with communities and industries. The importance of this linkage lies in the idea of strong economic aspects of research and innovations. Investment in research and development has been regarded as one of the key strategies needed to secure economic growth of any society. Hence, the secret behind the development of any country is based on research and innovation, and thus Indian higher education system must have a vision for promoting research and innovation. Second, university and community partnership. The establishment of the medieval universities can be traced back to the University of Bologna in 1088. It was envisaged for the teaching, and later on, as centuries passed, research also became part and parcel of the activities in the universities. In India, the post-independent phase of our education saw universities as centers of teaching and research. Radhakrishnan Commission, for first time after independence, suggested the need for extension activities of the teachers. Of course, universities as prime important function other than teaching and research. Later on, in National Policy on Education 1986 and Program of Action 1992 envisioned that youth will be encouraged to participate through extension activities under National Service Scheme and National Cadet Corps. These endeavors time and again emphasize the one and only idea that universities are not the four walls building but rather well organized institutions to deal with the local problems in a coherent way. Each and every university has its responsibility of empowering the area where it resides. It should focus the total growth in its totality of the community within its jurisdiction. But the hard reality is that society has problems whereas university has disciplines. The problems of the society is never been addressed directly in the teaching and research activities of the university. Hence, our educational institutions are isolated from the society. The main problem with our university system is that the scholars in the university is thought of elite community of researchers having monopoly of knowledge without thinking community or society as partners of knowledge generation process. This isolation of the university needs to be broken. Universities can no longer be treated as ivory tower and be isolated from the community. The knowledge generation process and the process of solving the problems can no longer be treated in separate stages. It is therefore recommended that higher education system must have a vision that encourages the extension service function of the university, and it must go beyond. Emphasis on skill development. We all know that India is a rapidly changing economy. Every year, a large volume of rural skilled labor force is migrating to the cities for better paid jobs. This constitutes a heavy drain on rural resources, economy and self-sufficiency. On the other side, India is expected to become one of the most populous nations by 2025 with a head count of around 1.4 billion. India is also expected to have the largest workforce in the world by 2025. With such a picture of Indian demography, the government and policy makers must show Indians' commitment towards the skill development. In this context, our education sectors must be strongly linked to industries. Industries must work with educational institutions to better train the workforce and to keep industry competitive. We know that the ultimate aim of education in this modern world is employability, and empowering human capital is the prime responsibility of any educational framework. Higher education must serve as the fuel to build up these human resources through skill development. Therefore, the responsible authorities of education to develop a skilled workforce must understand that education is not merely teaching an obscure field of study, rather it implies the art of preparing individuals with meta skills such as language, communication, teamwork, data analysis, etc., that could be used as a bridge for developing many other skills. Even though we have various measures such as policies and national strategies like NSQF, Kaushal scheme, polytechnic colleges who meticulously strive for skill development, their implementation has failed to deliver the desired results. Therefore, our country needs a lifelong learning which strengthens not only the current system of skills but also provide a platform for harnessing the future potential of the young populations. Fourth aspect, promoting open online courses. The growth of distance education can be traced back to the period after independence, when India faced the problem of educating millions of students at all levels. Later, in order to expand the facilities of education in India by providing a less expensive mode of imparting higher education, UGC had appointed an expert committee under the chairmanship of Dr. D.S. Kothari to explore the possibility of starting correspondence courses in few selected universities, and as the recommendation made by this commission, University of Delhi started the pioneer effort in 1962. This may be considered as the genesis of open and distance learning in higher education in India. In this new era of technology, there is more of a demand for skilled manpower than the competent graduates, postgraduates coming out from the formal system of education. So, we need an alternative system that can not only ensure the quality but also meet the requirements of the learners. In this context, Indian government has launched an Indian focused massive open online courses platform which is termed as SWAYAM, Study Webs of Active Learning for Young Aspiring Minds. The idea behind this is to reach out to distant students from remote area, working people as well as college dropouts. This type of learning system ensures education facility at cheap and of the standard equivalent to that of conventional system. Hence, our higher education agencies should focus on having a clear vision on emphasizing and promoting open and online courses, which will be a learning style in the future. Fifth aspect, focus on internationalization of higher education. Internationalization of higher education, with respect to higher education, though there are numerous limitations, Indian education is internationally accepted and recognized. Many of the Indian teachers and students are recognized as the best for their research abilities and teaching. Though these are the positive sides of the Indian higher education, there are many other unfortunate realities related to education in India which become hurdle for the quality education. Indian universities must realize that they should provide services to the foreign students by improving infrastructure, avoiding rigidity in the admission process, curriculum and teaching learning process. For that, we must adopt various strategies to attract foreign students to India. We need institutional collaborations in teaching and learning. Increasing the quality of teaching and learning is fundamental to government plans in the coming years, including faculty exchange. Together with, we also need international collaborations in the arts, humanities and social sciences, which our Indian education system is mostly lacking, and there is great concern about the recent neglect of these disciplines in India. The student must be motivated to take up research careers in these areas. Indian government seldom gives significance to the development of world-class standard in education. Our higher education system should seek for the international standard in education. Many of the universities in the developed nations like in USA, UK, Australia, etc., permit students to come and study in their higher education institutions together with their own students in their countries. This can also make it possible in India when we adopt uniform international syllabus in its educational institutions. It's a fact that India has not been able to attract students from developed countries because of its rigid academic systems in the higher education. Therefore, the educationist should have a vision of promoting our higher education to a globally recognized educational system and provide inputs to the governing bodies of higher education on the issues and policies that are involved in the process of internationalization of Indian higher education. So far we were discussing the 5 core aspects of higher education on which our education should be fixed for the future academic and educational endeavors. They can be termed as our futuristic visions or design for our higher education system. Indian higher education, first and foremost, should give its prime relevance to the research and innovation. It is because only a nation which is based on research outlook and productivity through innovation can sustain in the ever-changing world scenario. Next element is the linkage with our educational institution with that of community. Educational institutions are the manure for the refinement of community from all kinds of vulnerability and fuel for the development and enhancement of every society, and this society needs highly skilled workforce for its promotion. As the time passes, the education system, especially of the higher education, must upgrade itself with new mode of transacting the knowledge to the learners. The present educational endeavors are done mostly through online, and every effort should be taken for uplifting our education to an international world-class standard of education. Now, let me sum up the discussion. It is believed that at least by 2030, India will be one of the youngest nations in the world. There will be nearly about 140 million people in the college age group, and to all surprise, 1 in every 4 graduates in the world will be a product from the educational institutions of our country. By 2030, the already existing challenges for Indian higher education exacerbated unless we significantly transform our higher education model. Therefore, it is needless to say our higher education system needs a new vision and a new aspiration which will fulfill the needs and solves the challenging issues of the century. These visions for higher education will enable the policy makers to reform and lay out a roadmap to achieve the educational objectives they set up. Because India needs an educational system which is modern in look, liberal in nature, and can acclimatize to the needs of the changing society, which confronts a changing economy and a changing culture. Thank you very much. Hope you have enjoyed this module and you can elaborate further by applying your wisdom and reading. Thank you very much.